So one thing I'm seeing in the marketplace as clients are getting pressured to expand is a lot of questions around how much credit is too much, how much leverage is too much. At what point are they going to get told no? It's been my experience that banks are never going to warn you when they're about to tell you no. They're just going to say it. Let's talk about some areas of where companies can get in trouble when it comes to obtaining the capital they need to execute their strategic plans.
I think it's important to get out in front of that, talk to your bank, because I mean, as we all know, you can grow too fast. And because what happens when you're growing? AR's going up, accounts payables going up, you're purchasing more inventory. And I think it's important, a lot of times businesses will find themselves in a situation where, hey, we're growing, and then they go to their bank, and their bank can kind of be surprised by that. So get out in front of those conversations, because if banks know that growth is coming, they want to help you. They want to be a part of that. So I think it's important to get out in front of growth plans and have those conversations early with your bank.
Not to mention, the growth in AR and the growth in AP, you really need to look at your balance sheet when it comes to managing your business in these situations, because every day that AR doesn't go collected, and in some cases, every day early AP gets paid is interest expense on your line of credit. So if you're not measuring those days payables and those days receivables and calculating that spread together, you could wind up paying way more interest than you really need to pay.
That's true on the inventory side as well, especially for manufacturers when they're holding more inventory than they need, or not only from a excess or obsolete side, but they're essentially paying interest on the excess because they could pay down the line if they have a line of credit or use for other capital needs. So it's something to think about as well.
And it's not uncommon, and when a business is growing, AR shoots up, increases a lot, and you start talking about AR. Well, no one's keeping a close eye on AR, but AR is a source of financing, and if you can collect it quicker. And I think what you'll sometimes see when a business grows, that AR balance doubles. Well, if you're just staying on top of it, you're going to be able to collect it.
That's right. And the other thing I'm seeing is customers are constantly stretching payment terms. Yeah, I've got a couple of clients that deal with very, very large companies, and those companies, they don't want to pay inside of 120 days or 180 days. So my clients have to manage those receivables and manage that borrowing, that float, to keep the business open and keep serving that customer. So when I think about one thing a manufacturing company should stop doing today to help manage that, inventory comes to mind. Most people forget that carrying inventory is not free. So when your purchasing is out of control to the point that you're not really just in time purchasing, you're borrowing off that line of credit, you're carrying that inventory, you're paying interest on that debt, and you're running up a balance that you're not going to collect cash on to pay for a considerable amount of time.
That's true. And I'm seeing more manufacturers require big deposits to try to get ahead of that in the first place. They're requiring deposits, so they're not stretched as thin on the AR side, but also on the inventory side. When they're purchasing and building something into a larger piece of machinery, they're getting ahead of that. But it also leads to your point of expanding your inventory base and it causing leverage. But then also, if you're growing quickly, you think you need this and you're not there with the product demand, you have an open area of exposure in the future to, will you be able to sell that, or you're gonna have to sell it at a discount? Is that the product you need now?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think when a business may feel like they're having a hard time finding the capital that they need, and their initial reaction is, hey, let's go talk to our bank and see if we can get more capital. But oftentimes the answer is somewhere else on the balance sheet. Hey, let's look at AR, let's look at inventory, let's look at these other areas that we can manage as we're growing, and better management of those areas can be an additional source of capital.
The biggest way a client can get control of their leverage is to manage their business from the balance sheet. We have way too many privately held companies that just look at the income statement, they look at the bottom line, they look at their tax exposure, and that's where they manage their business. They're not adequately managing how much exposure they have and how much access to funding they already have on their balance sheet. So showing clients how to do that, how to manage your days receivables and your days payables to leverage your business off your vendors and not let your customers leverage their business off of you, and the amount of interest expense and the amount of other expenses you can save by shrinking that spread is one of the key metrics that my clients miss. My clients don't pay enough attention to.
To give an example of somewhere that has been helpful with getting financing, I've seen people extend, which is common, extend payables, but then also look to play the game of the spread between AR and AP. So when you're looking at that, if you have accurate AR and AP data in, then you can better play that game. I had a client with actual extended a 20-25% on a normal basis to not dip into their line, but rather let their customers finance it. But they have to know very well on their AR and AP side to be able to plan on the cash flow there. If you don't have accurate numbers going in, then you're not able to play that game and leverage the customer rather than the bank.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think sometimes people forget is that these bankers, their actual job titles are relationship managers. They are supposed to be a business partner with you, just like we are. And so the more that you can be proactive with your relationship manager, the better you're going to be in the long run. Make them a part of your strategic plan. Sat in a meeting 2 weeks ago with a client and their relationship manager where they went through basically an acquisition that's 12 months away, but we're laying the groundwork for getting the capital that my client needs to accomplish their goal.
Yep. I think it's important to be proactive. When there is a credit challenge or a challenge related to credit worthiness, I think being proactive, calling your lender or your lenders in and having a meeting, sitting down, looking at everything, laying everything out on the table. I've seen a lot of clients have success when they take that proactive approach. Hey, we see this issue coming in the next 6 months. Let's talk about it, come up with a plan, versus waiting until that issue comes up and then you're scrambling to figure out a solution. And I could say, I think one way to sum up a lot of what we're talking about related to credit worthiness and how to obtain additional financing is, yes, talk to your bank, be proactive in those conversations, but a lot of times there are answers that are lying on your balance sheet, and you just need to look further into them and really focus on them and solve some issues on your balance sheet.
Right.